What if I told you that the man who has terrorized the WWE roster for over 2 decades, the man who has heard I Hear Voices echo through arenas all over the world, the man who punted legends in the skull, slithered like a viper on the mat, and delivered RKOs out of nowhere that broke the internet every single time? What if I told you that man might be walking out of WWE forever? Not because Vince McMahon fired him, not because of a scandal, not because of injury, but because Randy Orton himself is done. Stay with me, because what I'm about to lay out for you today is going to shake you to your core as a wrestling fan. And if you've been following this story casually, I promise you do not have the full picture yet. This goes deeper than a contract negotiation. This goes deeper than a comeback story. This is the potential end of a legacy. And the most infuriating part, WWE might actually be letting it happen. Make sure you're subscribed to WrestleScope, because this is the kind of content the mainstream wrestling media won't touch. Let's get into it. Let's set the record straight right away, because clickbait is cheap, and you deserve the truth. Randy Orton has not walked up to a microphone and said, "I quit." But what he has done is something far more telling, and in many ways far more alarming for WWE fans. In multiple recent interviews and social media interactions, Randy Orton has been unusually candid about where his head is at. He's spoken openly about his back surgery, the brutal spinal fusion procedure that kept him out of action for over a year and a half, and how it completely changed his relationship with professional wrestling. He's talked about prioritizing his family, his health, and his quality of life in ways that we have almost never heard from the Viper before. And here's the quote that should stop every wrestling fan dead in their tracks. Randy said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I don't know how many years I have left. I have to be smart. I've given this business everything, and at some point you have to decide what's left for you." That is not the language of a man gearing up for one final championship run. That is the language of a man writing his exit letter in slow motion. Now combine that with the fact that Randy is currently working what sources describe as a significantly reduced schedule, and you start connecting dots that paint a very uncomfortable picture. Here's what people forget, or maybe never fully appreciated, about how serious Randy Orton's back injury really was. When Randy went under the knife in 2022, this wasn't a standard pro wrestling procedure. Spinal fusion surgery is the kind of operation where doctors are essentially bolting your vertebrae together to prevent catastrophic nerve damage. The recovery alone took over 18 months. There were moments, Randy has confirmed this himself, where he wasn't sure he would ever wrestle again. Think about that. Randy Orton, the 14-time world champion, one of the most physically gifted athletes WWE has ever produced, was lying at home wondering if his career was over. And when he came back at Survivor Series 2023 alongside Cody Rhodes, the reaction was one of the most emotionally overwhelming moments in recent WWE history. Grown adults, men and women who had watched Randy heel and face turn more times than they could count, were in tears, because deep down, every wrestling fan carries this quiet fear that we might not see our favorites again. But here's the dark side of that comeback story that nobody wants to talk about. Coming back from spinal fusion surgery doesn't mean you're fully healed. It means you're functional. There is a difference, and Randy Orton, training daily to maintain that level of performance, is doing so on a body that has a very literal expiration timeline attached to it. The doctors don't lie. The body doesn't lie. And increasingly, Randy Orton isn't lying either. Now here is where I need you to get angry, because this isn't just about Randy's physical condition. This is about how WWE has, or arguably hasn't, managed one of their greatest assets in the twilight of his career. Let's be real. Randy Orton's return should have been treated with the same level of care and storytelling gravitas as The Undertaker's final years. This is a living legend, a guaranteed Hall of Famer, a generational talent. And yet, since his comeback, what has WWE actually done with Randy Orton? Yes, he's been involved in feuds. Yes, the crowd still reacts. But where is the definitive send-off storyline? Where is the carefully crafted narrative that honors 20-plus years of service? Where is the moment where WWE looks Randy Orton in the eye through its storytelling and says, "We see you. We know what you've given, and we're going to make sure the world never forgets it"? Because right now, it feels like Randy is being cycled through television like a mid-card veteran collecting a paycheck, rather than being positioned as the legend he is. And if Randy Orton walks away without that definitive WrestleMania moment, that last dance, that responsibility falls squarely on WWE creative shoulders. This is what should make every single one of you watching furious, because when The Rock came back, WWE bent over backwards to restructure WrestleMania plans. When CM Punk returned, WWE gave him the red carpet. But Randy Orton, the man who arguably gave more consistent years of top-level performance than either of those names, seems to be drifting toward the exit without so much as a proper send-off on the horizon. Drop a comment right now and tell me, does Randy Orton deserve better than what WWE is giving him? Because I think you already know the answer. Here's the twist that the dirt sheets aren't focusing on enough, and it's the most human part of this entire story. Randy Orton is a father, he is a husband, and by his own admission, the time he spent at home during his injury recovery gave him something he had never truly had before in his adult life: normalcy. He watched his kids grow up in real time. He was present for school pickups and dinner tables and weekend mornings. He lived the life that most WWE superstars sacrifice completely during their peak earning years on the road. And when you've had a taste of that, when you know what it feels like to be a present father and husband, climbing back onto a plane every Monday becomes a very different calculation. Randy Orton has spoken with genuine emotion about his family in recent years, and the subtext is always the same. The road is brutal, and the people waiting at home are worth more than any championship belt. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. This is what 20 years of sacrifice teaches a man. And I want you to sit with this for a second, because this is the part of the wrestling business that fans sometimes forget. These are human beings. Randy Orton has bled for this industry. He has sacrificed relationships, his physical health, and decades of his life to entertain us. If the man wants to go home and watch his kids grow up, that is not a betrayal. That is a man making the most important call of his life. But that doesn't make it any less heartbreaking. Let's talk about the business side, because if Randy Orton walks, and I mean truly walks, not a sabbatical, not a reduced schedule, but fully steps away, WWE loses something that cannot be replaced. Randy Orton is one of the last connections to the Attitude Era transition. He's a living bridge between the Ruthless Aggression era and the modern product. He's someone that casual fans who haven't watched in years will immediately recognize. He's a merchandise mover, a rating driver on his best nights, and perhaps most importantly, he is a credibility anchor for younger talent. Every young superstar who works a program with Randy Orton gets elevated, not by association alone, but because Randy Orton knows how to make someone look like $1 million in the ring while simultaneously protecting the story. That knowledge, that generational wrestling intelligence, disappears the moment he walks through that curtain for the last time. And let's not forget the RKO. There is not a single move in professional wrestling today that has the same universal instant reaction as the RKO out of nowhere. The memes alone have introduced Randy Orton to generations of fans who have never even watched a full wrestling match. That cultural footprint is enormous, and WWE would be foolish not to maximize every last moment of it. Now, here's where I flip the entire script on you, and I want you to think about this carefully. What if Randy Orton confirming publicly that he's thinking about his future, talking about reduced schedules, making noise about his legacy and his family, what if all of that is a negotiation tactic? Randy Orton's current contract situation has not been made entirely public, and in WWE history we have seen superstars use the public narrative to their advantage at the bargaining table before. When your value is tied to fan reaction and cultural relevance, reminding the world, and more importantly reminding WWE's boardroom, of exactly how much you matter is the smartest thing a veteran can do before signing on the dotted line. This wouldn't be the first time a wrestling legend played the retirement card to secure a blockbuster deal. And frankly, if that's what Randy is doing, good for him. He's earned every dollar he can extract. But here's the terrifying part. Sometimes the leverage becomes real. Sometimes a man says, I'm thinking about walking away, often enough that one morning he wakes up and realized he wasn't bluffing anymore. That is the knife's edge Randy Orton is walking right now, and nobody, not WWE, not his agents, not even Randy himself, may know which side he's going to fall on. So where does this leave us? Randy Orton, the Viper, the Legend Killer, the 14-time world champion, is standing at a crossroads that will define the final chapter of one of the greatest careers in professional wrestling history. Whether he stays, whether he goes, or whether this is the greatest negotiation play we've ever seen, one thing is absolutely certain. We are living in the final era of Randy Orton, and we need to appreciate every single moment. Because one day, maybe sooner than any of us want to admit, the lights are going to go dark, the voices in his head are going to go quiet, and the greatest Viper in WWE history is going to slither away for the last time. Don't let that moment catch you off guard. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Randy Orton is genuinely on his way out? Do you think WWE is dropping the ball with his legacy? And what would your dream final Randy Orton storyline look like? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. If this video got you fired up, and I think it did, smash that like button so this gets in front of every wrestling fan who needs to see it. Share this video with your wrestling friends, your Facebook groups, your Reddit communities, because this conversation needs to happen louder. And if you are not yet subscribed to WrestleScope, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we cover the stories that matter the way they deserve to be covered, every single week. This has been WrestleScope. Stay sharp, stay passionate, and never, ever take your legends for granted.